Rigby, you may make your closing argument.
Take just a second. It takes 1,200 degrees to burn human bones. It took 1,200 degrees to burn the bones of Tara Faye Grinstead. It's hard to look at, I understand. Because pecan wood burns really hot. Yes, defense counsel is right. The things that you've seen, the things that you've heard, you don't forget about them when you leave here. Just like Bo Dukes didn't forget about, I don't recall telling John McCulloch. You don't forget that, ladies and gentlemen. In South Georgia, I think we say, come on now. I forgot. We're going to talk about I forgot, or I don't recall. In fact, that's not really what he said. Remember, he said, no, no, hell no, no, I don't recall, no. It's not I don't recall the interview, I don't remember. It's no, no, and it wasn't a no, it's a what? A hell no. I didn't say it. That's what he said. In the 12 questions asked about John McCulloch's interview. But pecan wood burns really hot. Because what we know is it burned the bones of Tara Faye Grinstead. A cheerleading coach, a high school teacher, a winning personality with a beautiful smile. And what did Bo Dukes and Ryan Alexander Duke do to this beautiful lady? They set her on fire. And they left her with a tooth. The tooth that won pageants. The smile on billboards. The smile on missing persons posters. They reduced to bits of skull, vertebra, and teeth. And they just forgot it. Oh, I just forgot. I don't remember that. Another South Georgia, come on now. But that's what the defense wants you to believe. In fact, Mr. Fox is a great attorney, but the whole defense in this case proves he's guilty. It proves to you that he is guilty, and we're going to talk about it as we go through today. But you know what they did? As they burned her body, they buried the truth with her. They buried the truth about what happened to this beautiful young lady as they buried her body in the straw with household trash, dirt. That's where they left her. They buried the truth with her. And they buried the truth just like they buried her body as you heard him, kicked around the pile to make sure it was nothing left. Well, they buried the truth from 2005. They buried the truth in 2006. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 2007, 12 more months. 2008, 12 more months. 2009, 12 more months. 2010, 12 more months. 2011, 12 more months. 2012, shall I go on? Until 2016. And John McCulloch, I've been making calls to local law enforcement, didn't know which one to call, leaving my name, hope they call me back. And unfortunately, nobody did. But in 2016, Agent Shadell reached out to John McCulloch. Mr. McCulloch had a message you had called. One of the Agent Hollins gave him the message, remember? And Agent Shadell called him. You're my battle buddy, right? 4 weeks in basic training, you forge some friendships pretty fast. And you forge friendships with people you ask to come home with you on break. And the funny thing is about this, Mr. Dukes wants to say today, I don't remember any of that, I forgot all that, right? Because I was too high, or I was too intoxicated, or whatever it was. But you know what? He remembers everything else about it, doesn't he? Yeah, I remember a guy came home with me. I remember what? He took my truck and left. And you remember why he took the truck and left? Because you told me you burned the body of the girl on the billboard. Because your buddy, your roommate, came in and said, I effed up and I killed her. I jumped on her and strangled her in her bed while she was asleep. And it messed with Mr. McCulloch's head. It messed with your head too. It's messed with all 15 of your heads this week. And it disturbed Mr. McCulloch so bad he just left him. And took Bo's truck. You remember what Bo remembered about that weekend, though? He told you, I didn't get to go to the football game because he had my truck. He remembers everything else. Conveniently forgets this. The judge will charge you on intent. That's what Mr. Fox says is, the state didn't prove to you intent. Listen very carefully, judge's charge. He will tell you that you can infer intent from his conduct before, his conduct during the interview, and his conduct after the interview. What did he do? What did Bo Dukes do from 2005 to 2016 before that interview? He buried the truth. He lied. He lied. People can have dual motives. He wants to say, you can't. He was covering up for himself. Self-preservation. He wasn't covering up for people. Have dual motives all the time, people. I'm going to cover up for you, and I'm going to cover up for me. Sure, he's got double motives. I have no doubt he's out for self-preservation. That's what Bo Dukes is all about, is self-preservation. His uncle and his cousin and everybody else told you that. That's all he's ever been about. No doubt that's it, but people protect their friends. Don't be fooled by those things. But they left her where they buried the truth, and they buried her body with ants crawling over her body, riddled by time, and left to these small fragments of bone. More lies, more pain, and more suffering for the Grinstead family. Just like they added a stick of wood to the fire, truckload after truckload, they added more pain every day, every moment to their lives. Wondering the questions. What happened to her? Where is our daughter? Where is our sister? Where is our friend? Where is our teacher? Where is the one we love? But rather than tell the truth, when someone asks you, did you tell John McCulloch? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Until February 27th, 28th of 2017, when Dr. Alice Gooding identified Tara Grinstead's final resting place. The resting place of her occipital bone, her parietal bone, her vertebra, and her teeth. Mixed in with household trash, straw, and dirt. Words matter. Mr. Fox is right about that. Words absolutely matter. And his words in those 14 minutes of that interview matter the most. I agree with him on that. Because it's not, I don't recall. Remember his responses. At least 5 times. He doesn't say, I don't recall, I don't remember, I don't recall. No, no. And then one of them, it's even, no, 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 no. And he and Jason kind of chuckle about it. It's a chuckle. I don't know why he'd say that. But I don't remember, I don't recall. That's not what he said. In fact, he says, hell no, multiple times. 14 minutes of that interview, you know what? It just took a few minutes for Ryan Alexander Duke to strangle her in her bed. And it took 2 days to burn her body at 1,200 degrees. So yeah, 14 minutes matter. And 5 no's to questions matter. And 5 hell no's, or 3 or however many it was, hell no's matter. It mattered to Connie Grinstead. It mattered to Billy Grinstead. It mattered to Anita Gaddis. It mattered to you in Abbeville. It mattered to Osceola. It mattered to Fitzgerald. It matters to the state of Georgia. And it's by the media. It matters to the whole nation and maybe even to the whole world. Because she matters. But what does Bo Duke wants to do? He wants to blame law enforcement or blame somebody else for my lies. Or blame, poor Bo. I'll just say it, poor Bo. He has panic attacks and anxiety attacks because he helped destroy somebody's body. Poor Bo. This was not a case about Tara's murder. This case is about Bo Duke's and Bo Duke's lies and his hindering and his concealment. But as Mr. Fox went through the charges with you, we had to tell you about how she was murdered because that's part of the proof in this case. We don't have to prove to you, but we had to prove you about the malice murder. And we showed you Tara's home. The murder is not in dispute. In fact, Bo even tells you in confession that his friend Ryan strangled her in her bed. What do we see in her bed? Her bed is messed up, of course. We saw the other evidence. We've got drawers strewn out within the side of the house. A lampshade askew. And her blood right there on her comforter, where she was strangled, or with his hands killed in the bed. The glove that was found in her front yard. What do we know about that glove? It was tested. And in this portion, that little piece right there was Tara's DNA. And Ryan's DNA, and y'all remember the number, like 300 quadrillion. Malice murder, jumping on somebody and strangling them in their bed, it's malice murder. Don't be fooled. It's just smoke and mirrors. It's defense tactics to get you looking away anywhere other than the truth. They both take Agent Shadell out to the orchard and show him where in the orchard They don't exactly get it right. Remember, Bo has to go back a second day to try to show them again, and Ryan goes out there and shows them around too. But it's because of Randy Hudson, the pecan farmer himself, the owner of the orchard, who says what? I remembered I got on the boat, and you talk to a nephew like you don't talk to a nephew. And I told him to stop burning stuff out there, and Randy took Todd Crosby and them out there, and guess what? It's there we find Tara's teeth, her vertebra, and her bones. So this case, of course, as we know, and this is the area there where we find her bones, as they've taken them out there to show them where Tara was. And this is where Tara's body lay alone from October of 2005 until February of 2017. Tara, teacher and sister and daughter, friend, was reduced to pieces as these two burned her body at 1,200 degrees. The grand jury in Wilcox County has returned an indictment against Mr. Dukes, and that's what you swore an oath to seek the truth about. In 4 counts in this indictment, count 1 is making a false statement that this defendant did willfully, knowingly and willfully falsify and conceal that Ryan Alexander Duke confessed to him that Ryan Alexander Duke had killed Tara Faye Grinstead. A material fact in the investigation of her disappearance within the Georgia Bureau of Investigation by his denial to Agent Shadell, the GBI, that he did not discuss Tara Faye Grinstead with John McCullough because he forgot. That was not his answer. In that 14-minute interview, it was hell no. Why would he say that? I don't know. No, and then chuckle. Remember this. Do you remember what Brooke said? Remember, you can infer intent, knowingly and willfully. That intent there, actions before, during, and after. Do you remember what Brooke Sheridan told you when she testified? Did you know that Bo had gone and interviewed with him in 2016? Yes, I did. What did she tell you? I asked him about it. What did he tell you? You remember. He said, oh, they were just swabbing everybody. Why would you lie to Brooke about that? You know what you told John McCullough. Oh, they're just swabbing everybody, Brooke. That's why they wanted to talk to me. No. He asked you where our proof was, what we proved that he remembered. Why lie there? Why not tell her something else? Because he'd have to tell the truth, and he's been burying that all these years. You remember what he told Brooke and what Brooke said. His girlfriend, the one he's still with. Count 2, another count of false statement that he did deny to Agent Shadell that he did not discuss burning the body of Tara Faye Grinstead with John McCullough. Of course, their defense of this one is it was knowingly and willfully, because he said, I don't recall. Remember, that's not what he said. He says, no, and hell no, several times. That's a denial. It's not I don't recall or I don't remember. It's no, and then a chuckle, and a hell no. Hindering apprehension of a felon. This is, of course, why we have to prove to you malice murder and that he was killed by Ryan Alexander Duke. And malice murder does not have to be planned out. It doesn't have to be premeditated in the state of Georgia. It can be formed in an instant. That's what the law in the state of Georgia is. And jumping on somebody and strangling them in their bed while they're asleep absolutely is malice murder. Don't be led astray by smoke and mirrors, looking the other way. And he can have multiple motives. He can have a self-preservation motive because he knows if Tells on his buddy. He's got to tell on himself too. But it doesn't change that he can have the same motive. It doesn't change that. You also have count 4, concealing the death of another, to unlawfully conceal the death of Tara Faye Grinstead by his denial to Agent Shadell during the interview of information regarding the death or destruction of Tara Faye Grinstead. And so the defense on this count, you heard it right, you can't conceal what is known. So Bo Dukes, the one lying about all of this, is now going to blame law enforcement. That's going to be my defense. Because in 2005, Garland Lott gave local law enforcement some information and he can't conceal what's known. That was the defense you heard. We were still investigating her disappearance in 2016. When he lied to Jason Shadell here at the Rochelle Police Department. He wants to blame everybody but himself. Because he says he's can't conceal what is known, but we'll talk about that a little more in just a minute. This is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not beyond all doubt. The judge will charge you on all this. It's not beyond a shadow of doubt. It's not any mathematical certainty. It is just the doubt of a reasonable, fair-minded juror honestly seeking the truth. They ask you to look for doubt and all of these things. Your job is to seek the truth. Because if you start seeking doubt like they want you to do, that's the road that Bo takes. The lies, the deceit, the cover-up, the burial of the truth. That's what he does. That's not you. Your job is to seek the truth. That's what you took an oath to do, is to seek the truth. We see that what we have, of course, here is after this murder mystery of everything, in June the 16th of 2016, Bo Dukes stood at the crossroads. When he interviewed with Jason Shadell in those 14 minutes, he was at the crossroads. Because his battle buddy, his friend in basic, has told what he said. That he helped, that Ryan killed her, that his buddy killed her, and they burned the body together. And here we have at that June the 16th interview, Bo Dukes had the chance to go right. He had the opportunity to make the right decision and tell the truth, but he went a different direction. And he abused honor and he abused trust. Those things that would have been instilled in him by the military, those things that would have been important to him, he abused those. Yeah, he was asked about 11 questions about John McCullough. And did he do the thing of honor, and did he do the thing of trust? Maybe honor towards his friend he's helping cover up for. But not honor in the sense of what is right. He chose to protect himself, and he chose to protect his friend. That's what he chose on June the 16th of 2016. That's the path that he chose. He chose to harm. He chose to cause more harm on June the 16th. By lying and covering it up. He chose to inflict more pain and suffering to the Grinsteads on that day. He chose that. That was the path he chose when he came to that crossroads. He could have chosen the path of light, but what he did is he chose the path of darkness. And he entered that path of darkness, like Brooks said, on a 10-minute walk. And not only did he enter the path of darkness, he embraced it. He enveloped himself in it. And then he just spread it all around. That's what he chose to do at the crossroads. When asked about Tara's death, that's what he chose. He could have chosen to stop their pain and suffering on June the 16th, but that's not what he chose. He chose to embrace the darkness. He chose to embrace the lie. That's what he chose. He could have cured the wrongs and stopped all of it in 2016. But 7 more months had to pass. 7 more months had to pass for more pain, more suffering, more questions, more wondering to family, to friends, and everybody else. Because I forgot. Nothing stopped him from telling the truth to make a different world for so many people on that day. But something stopped him. He chose to protect himself. He chose to embrace the darkness. He chose to protect Ryan. That was what he chose. There was nothing stopping him from telling Jason Shadell that day. You want to tell me that when the GBI calls you, ring, 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 hey, Mr. Dukes, I want to talk to you at the Rochelle Police Department. Why would the GBI want to talk to me? GBI wants to talk to me? Go down and meet him at the police department. Hey, you know somebody by the name of John McCullough? Yeah, no, we were at basic together, and your mind's going, but I don't remember. Well, at this crossroads, he could have chosen to be a better example for all of us. But he decided to do worse. He could have resolved all this and decided to tell the truth, but he didn't. He lied. He chose to protect his friend. And by that choice, he chose to inflict more harm on everybody else. He chose to inflict more pain rather than less. Despite all the evil, we know that Bo Dukes did. He sought to help the guilty rather than the innocent. That's what he chose. So how many things would he have to forget that took place over the 48 hours that he burned her body? Somehow destroying this beautiful girl's body didn't make its way and weigh on his mind? Well, the entire defense that way has been an admission, because you know what he had to do to forget? Well, he looked at her naked body. He noted specific injuries to her neck. He actually picked her body up and carried it. Remember, he says, I grabbed her by her arms and Ryan grabbed her by her legs. And you're grabbing arms and legs and you're going to forget that of a dead person? He went back and forth loading the truck. Remember that? 4 to 5 truckloads. Remember, we stacked the wood so we couldn't even see her anymore. 1, 2, 5 truckloads. 4 to 5 truckloads, unloading trucks. You got to load it in, and you got to drive it out there, and you got to unload it. Piece of wood after piece of wood until her whole body is covered. And then you got to do another act of what? You got to light the fire. Whether you use a lighter or a match, you got to light it, and then you got to keep it going. You got to poke the fire. You got to stoke it to keep it hot, to keep it going. All of these little acts. How many hundreds of thousands of acts did he do as he burned her body with Ryan Duke that he's got to forget when Jason Shadell asked him, why did John McCulloch tell me you burned the body? He'd have to forget thousands upon thousands of little things that he did to her body. It's ridiculous for him to say, I don't remember. You were drunk every other person you told. You seek the truth. That's what you need to do. Is seek the truth. He goes back and forth, 4 to 5 loads of wood. He watched the fire. As it burned her hair, as it burns her feet, as it burns her fingers, and you watch her burn. And then you go get another truckload and throw more wood on the fire. And then you stoke the fire to make it hot. But I forgot what I told John McCulloch. He watched it consume her very flesh. And I suggest that as he and Ryan sat there and watched it, can you imagine the conversation between the two of them? Stoked the fire until it became 1,200 degrees hot. He did these things over 2 days. So not only that, these thousands of acts he's going to have to do, he's doing them over a 2-day period. And he's looking back to examine his work, right? Remember, he told you, he kind of kicked it around to see if there was anything left. But it was all ash. Reduced her to ash and coals. And then he even got into trouble with his uncle about it. Thousands of acts over a 2-day period he would have to forget. But he wants to tell you he doesn't remember this conversation with John McCulloch. Remember, the judge will charge you that you can consider his intent before, during, and after. Before he hid, he buried the truth. During, he just lied. No, no, hell no, 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 chuckle, chuckle. He does say, not that I recall at one point. And then in his later interview, you know what he says to Agent Shadell in February 21st of 2017? Well, so when I talked to you about John McCulloch, well, yeah, obviously, certainly, I said those things. He does say then, I don't remember. But obviously, certainly, well, remember the last question on that 14-minute interview says about
I'm just curious why he would say that. And his response was not I don't, it's just, you and me both. Wes Connor, he was drunk when he told Wes. Drunk with Garland. But this was the man at the crossroads that chose the wrong path. But there was another man at the crossroads too. This man was at a crossroads to choose between his battle buddy, a friend that he's been through basic training with, because it's not easy. You got to have friends, buddies to rely upon to get through it. And he stood at a place of knowing what is right and honorable. Do I back my buddy that I'm in basic training with? Or I do the honorable thing? Do I do the right thing? And I ask you, who does the right thing? Who tells the truth? Oh, they want to get on, oh, his statement's inconsistent here, his statement's... They want to put John McCulloch on trial. John McCulloch is not on trial. He said 2,000 degrees here about burning the body versus 1,200 degrees. Or he said, he assumed, as he told you from the witness stand, he assumed that from what Bo said, it was a boyfriend, but it wasn't. It was just a friend. That was his assumption. The man who chose at the crossroads to do the right thing. To choose between a friend and to choose between what is right. To choose to stop the pain and suffering. To choose not to inflict more harm. I'm ready to call 48 hours to make sure people are doing something about it. That's what he told you. The men at the crossroads. Who chose better? You heard it out of his own mouth. It's his own words. You know, the defense want to talk about that brick wall that the state can't knock down. This defendant burns his own wall down. By his own mouth, he convicts himself. His own mouth. I saw bones, maybe ribs, wood stacked waist high, but it looked like ash. It was coals on Thursday. Truckloads full. 2 days and it was nothing left. It all looked like ash. And I picked it up. Who convicts himself? By his own words. He tells you in his confession interview on the 21st with Jason Shadell, why didn't you tell me when I asked you in 2016? I've buried the truth since 2005. It's his own words that convict him. He's telling you to convict himself. That's what he says. My idea to use the wood. Right? It's his idea. I don't remember the conversation, but certainly, obviously, I imagine it took place. Convenient to forget, isn't it? After the thousands of acts, before, during, and after. He remembers the other things about his conversation with McCulloch and his trip with McCulloch, the ball game, yeah, remember that part. And he took my truck, and John McCulloch, what did he tell you to do? I took the truck, and I just left. I didn't know how to deal with what he had told me. He remembers that too. But he's been keeping that secret a long time. Mr. Fox had told you an opening statement about answering the call. And in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, is a common phrase in Isaiah chapter 6 about, "Here am I, send me." And yes, you have all answered and heeded the call today. This week, for 4 days. Isaiah also talks about something else in chapter 61 in verse 3. And Isaiah says this, he says, provide for those who grieve in Zion. Bestow upon them a crown of beauty for ashes. Bestow upon them joy for their mourning. Bestow upon them a garment of praise instead of the spirit of despair. Beauty for ashes. It takes courage to do what you have to do today. As we trade beauty, the ashes that they reduced her to trade joy for the mourning and the suffering that they've been through. Because his lies and falsehoods continue to spread as her body lay there alone. We couldn't be there to save her. We couldn't be at the crossroads with Bo Dukes to save Tara. We couldn't force him at the crossroads to do the right thing. We couldn't force him to tell us of the evil that his co-defendant Ryan had done. No, those were his choices at the crossroads. But today, your verdict can burn bright. It can burn hot. You can let your light shine bright through Wilcox County, through Ben Hill County, through Irwin County, through the state of Georgia, to this nation and to the world. And let them know that Abbeville, Rochelle, Pitts, and Wilcox County stands for truth and justice. So that no one questions Abbeville. So that no one questions Rochelle and Pitts and Wilcox County. Tell them that his lies and his concealing and his hindering the apprehension of Ryan Duke over 11 years due to this interview were exactly what he's charged with. And the light that it took from those 4 truckloads of wood to burn her body, let your light shine equally as bright today. Just as they stacked the wood waist high, you stacked your verdict as high. The only verdict that speaks the truth in this case, that speaks the truth to Tara Grinstead, that speaks the truth to her family, the only truth that speaks the truth to the world today in Wilcox County is a guilty verdict on all.